Good morning. It is Friday, February 2nd, 2024. This is the work session of the Board of Supervisors with Planning and Development Department. I'm Lisa Heddens. Along with me is Supervisor Merkin and Supervisor Faisal, Director of External Operations, Sandra King, Director of Internal Operations, Alyssa Wignall, Assistant Auditor, Lisa Markley, Communications Assistant Bryce Garman, and Director of Planning and Development, Lisa Hart. Leanne Harder. There are too many L's around here. Yeah. Well, I don't know if you see, I have to close my eyes just so I can remember everybody. And I know I don't get Sandra's whole title, but that's what I remember. So that's what I go with. Yes. So we've been starting with revenues first and then going on to expenditures.
Thank you. Good morning. Just one thing to note in the revenues, they're pretty straightforward. I do have a readjustment or reestimated for this current fiscal year and then carrying that forward in the watershed flood protection line item. When it was proposed last year at budget time, it was anticipated that pipeline floodplain crossings would be coming in this fiscal year. So that is why that is $11,000. We are not anticipating yet that this fiscal year. And I don't even want to anticipate it for next fiscal year. That will be a lot of work to do those floodplain reviews, but it'll be a nice revenue to add in as well.
So what are you re-estimating that at?
At the 800 as in the
Oh, okay. Okay.
narrative.
So the amended is 800 and next year's 800 as well.
Correct.
Okay.
Already in there.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
I just wanted to explain why it was such a decrease. Are there any questions on revenue?
I don't believe so. You can go ahead and start with probably extra help.
Okay, yeah, and that is, I missed a couple things in the actual sheet. They're on the narrative, but I have a couple of corrections to note. Under extra help, they're re-estimated. Actually, I forgot to put in an amount. And I recalculated it last night, assuming we'd have an intern maybe April, May, and June, starting in April, and that's dependent on a lot of factors, to be honest, with the transition that's happening right now. But re-estimating this current fiscal year to 8,700.
So we have on our yellow sheets, 8,730.
Yeah, 8730. I show that you re-estimated it on your narrative.
Okay, I did it.
I didn't
yeah.
get that.
It's on there.
Because I would have
it's on-
put it at
it's on there, that's why I
8700 or 8750.
I
But
did.
she wanted to change that because she had an intern. She's already.
So
got it.
leave it 8,730.
Okay.
This is what you get when you're working. 8,730.
So is your projected still at 14,000 for 25?
Yeah.
Okay.
The other change to note, well, I'll just go down the line, overtime pay, we put in $50 for next fiscal year in case the one employee that's eligible were to choose to do overtime rather than comp time. Taxable fringe benefits, I am the only one in the office that gets reimbursed from my phone. I think right now I'm at the maximum reimbursement level, and I was looking at a Verizon phone, it goes down actually coincidentally at the end of the month. So I need some guidance how to submit revisions for that amount. Is a form, okay. I asked I don't know what the new amount is. I'll be asking for reimbursement though. So this number will probably still be at 390 re-estimated for this fiscal year, but then we'll keep at the 600 for next fiscal year. Zoning boards, we have at $90 this fiscal year. I honestly don't think we'll use that amount for awards and nameplates because we did not have a turnover in our planning and zoning commission nor board of adjustment. However, something I would like to talk with you all in the planning and zoning commission at the work session next week about is encouraging our members, both board of adjustment, planning and zoning commission members, to do site visits of properties. If it's a more complicated site, with that, we would offer reimbursement for mileage, which is a practice that was done years ago. Not the mileage to and from the actual meetings, but if they take the time out to go look at a site. So I want to get an idea of how many are interested in that. And if, you know, all of them, then I think we can still accommodate it with that $120.
Yeah, I would encourage it.
I think it's very beneficial for them to get out and physically see a site, but there'll be some training that goes with that to not engage with applicants and whatsoever. Vehicle fuels maintenance, we're going to be a little bit over this year. We needed a new battery and some other things in that RAV. It's getting up there. The mileage is still low, but it's a nearly 15-year-old car. So at some point we need probably think about if it's serving our needs or if we should be doing something else. But next fiscal year, we're projecting at 2650. I did take it to Big 8 and we need new struts. So build in that. And as he says, not something we have to take care of right now, or else I would have come forward and asked to do that now. Tires seem pretty good though, but hopefully, you know, when you're on county roads a lot, you never really know what happens with tires. Any questions on that page? Going down the next page, office supplies, nominally the same. Uniforms and equipment, the increase this year was due to purchasing the Trimble GPS unit. That was a little bit more than we anticipated, so that's why we're at right now 100% of that whole line item. We do still need to buy like a mini iPad or a used iPhone to help us with the data collection, but I think we can accomplish that this fiscal year out of our existing budget. Legal notices, trying to look at where we were through the fiscal year. Right now, I looked at the January month-end report. We're at 22% of that. We did get a couple more cases come in, so I want to stay with re-estimated 2,500, but I'm fairly confident in saying we're not going to need the 5,000, and so I'm carrying that forward next year. You know, that number and the next one posted in mailing are so highly dependent on our caseload and what we may have in the pipeline for projects and the level of notice and surrounding property owners. So those are the ones where we try our best guesstimate, but usually overestimate. Employee mileage and expense, we just keep at 50 for if one of us goes to training that we would need to submit something along that line item. And then communication services, that's from information from IT and our hotspot. Education and training, I'm proposing we leave same as budgeted. Actually, the National American Planning Association Conference is in Minneapolis this year. We haven't had one within a driving proximity for probably 15 years. The last time was Chicago. It'd be a wonderful opportunity for both Marcus and Andrea to go up, and I'll cover the office because by the time April comes, I think they can leave me alone and I can entrust me to answer questions. Handled my first person at the counter yesterday very well. So, and with that though, they did anticipate last year attending the national conference. I am not interested in going up there in person. I'm looking at the agenda. We have an online option that does in May. So I may consider that too, just so that all three of us have a chance to be on the different tracks, because it is incredible the amount of learning opportunities that take place there. That I'm going to jump down to dues and memberships. though, because currently neither of the two planners are members of the American Planning Association, which I firmly believe they need to be, even if they're not certified AICP at this point, we still have a professional membership of planners that we get benefit from our membership and learning. And as I've passed information on to the board, you know, there are many different opportunities that come down. So, we'll need to increase that amount so that, they can get the membership rate for the national conference. And I'll get to that amount next. When we put the budgets together, I did not have that amount of membership yet, so there's a change when I get there. Education and training then for next fiscal year. I'm assuming that Andrea will have finalized her CFM, so we need to build in some CEUs for her as well as CFM. And Marcus will either likely go down the AICP or the CFM track as well. So we'll have certification levels from various employees. Are there any questions for education and training? Equipment rental, I think you raised your straw. I thought you raised your hand. Like, equipment rental and maintenance is proposed to be the same. And then dues and memberships, again, when I put this together in December, I left it at 730, not building in for those planner memberships for this fiscal year. So I'd like to reestimate that up to 1760.
This year.
For this year, and then it'd be the same amount. I didn't anticipate them and their memberships, and I actually did not realize mine had not been paid for the fiscal year yet either. And that invoice just came in. So 1760 would be for this fiscal year. Are there any questions? Concerns?
Oh, 1.39, maybe a little more now, but that's reasonable in terms of operating. I think. That's not a big increase. So good work on that.
Any other questions, or was this something you wanted to share with us?
Yeah.
again?
Hesitantly. I did bring up the cost opinion from the engineers that are working, or the consultants working on the debris site, the Story County Disaster Debris Site. As we talked about in the CIP, you know, that bottom number of $582,000 is not something I would recommend we proceed with. Joby, Marcus, and myself were discussing this yesterday. We do need to do something at the site. We own the site. We need to determine a level that is appropriate for ongoing maintenance and have it set up that can be ramped up as soon as possible if need be. And we also need to hold true to the ownership agreement, the purchase agreement that said we'd put in a level of improvements, the berm, for example. We have not met, again, as I said, with the engineers to finalize a site plan and do some phasing, but I think my recommendation that for budgeting purposes for next fiscal year, you put in $50,000. Actually, yeah, I want to wait until July. I said actually because I was thinking maybe we might need to put some more in for this fiscal year to start the improvements before July, but we won't have time to do bids and everything we need to do to get any improvements done. That will give us time to finalize the site plan, go through the process with you all because they'll need some level of approval. That lets us have a not to exceed amount so we can do berming, maybe sign something.
Darren did say that there is some work that he
Mhm.
believes his department can do.
Yeah.
And he can justify it because they're going to use
Yep.
the site as well.
Yeah.
So you should include Darren in your
Yeah, we
next.
will.
So you're saying in the CIP,
In the CIP
change it
and
to
the-
50?
and then the budget for fiscal year 25.
Okay.
In the budget, I just put a TBD because at the time that they were due, I did not have this yet from the SCS engineers.
And so what would the 50 get us?
To be determined, but we're hoping, because this conversation just occurred yesterday, so we've not engaged SCS on this as well. Get the berming in whatever means we need to meet that purchase agreement requirements. If we need to do any type of fencing or any type of signage, our concern is we don't want to make it an attractive nuisance as well.
Mhm.
And we have not yet had any discussions at any level as who's going to be maintaining this site.
Mm.
Do we need to get maybe IRVM out and do some in native seeding? Those are the types of discussions that we really need to have.
Pardon?
Where are you gonna put this under county line, correct?
The purchase of the property was under countywide in the general fund, yes. But I did not put any amount in it for the current year, obviously, because it was.
So
at
we
the
can
time.
consider that when we do countywide, put 50 in there,
Yeah.
is your suggestion? Is there anything in this opinion that could be done internally besides maybe the berming and the grading?
That's a discussion we need to have as with Darren and Joby, and even bringing the consulting team on board. Like the $170,000 for the gravel roadways in now, that's not something that can be justifiable as an expense. And don't think that's something that we internally could do. But there may be an opportunity to have some grant funding, like I mentioned at the CIP, that we seek out some grant funding, like I mentioned at the CIP work session, to cover these higher dollar amounts.
Have you talked to Melissa?
Kind of high level.
You might want to involve her as well. If you're thinking about grant funding, there may be something they could have.
Yeah, she
could
suggested the
point to.
hazard mitigation. I was looking at brick possibly too, but I think this is probably going to be low the level. I don't think this would score high enough on the brick
Really?
program to receive funding. I sat through the review process last year as on the panel of national reviewers to get an idea of what you should be evaluating. Or to get an idea of what you should be including in applications to score high. And I don't think we could ever get anything in here to score this high enough for brick. So more information to come on that. It just is something we do need to spend some more money on it. If we want to
It may,
own the site.
we own the site, so we need to do that. And the other thing is that it may look to people like money of, well, we're not using it, we don't have a disaster, but if we have a disaster and it's not ready to use, I keep thinking about the Marshalltown tornado. You know, all the stuff you have to take care of there, the white goods, all of that, and hazardous chemicals, and that reminds me, in terms of like those kind of things, can we partner with Ames? Can we talk to the Resource Recovery Center about that, what their capabilities are?
Yeah, I can bring that to engineers. We need to schedule a meeting with them I think we finalized on our end, the site plan and the site layout. And that's what these amounts are based on, kind of the vision for that property.
Because if they've got plans or contracts or something to take care of things like hazardous chemicals, white goods, does it make sense for us to have a separate contract, or could we even combine with them on some of these things?
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, thanks. Thanks for continuing on with it. I think it's something we need to be planning for.
Anything else? Okay, thanks, Leanne.
Thank you, Leanne.
Thank you.